Hello everybody, welcome to WhatCulture Gaming. I'm Scott, joined by Josh.
Hello, Scott.
Josh, my friend, the thing is with this news, I don't want to have a go at IO Interactive because I feel like they're one of the shining beacons of light of a company that have a massive IP, a lovable franchise. They went independent, Bungie style, they took the Hitman IP, they left Square Enix, they're doing amazing things with the Hitman IP until the launch of Hitman 3, where a whole ton of us logged on to try and play the game, and the way that they've set up a XP unlocks rewards transfer system is maddening, Josh Brown. It's ridiculous. And it needs to, I don't know if it needs to be called out, but it needs to be mentioned, talked about, because hopefully no one ever tries this thing again, even though I'm sure their heart's in the right place and there's some sort of explanation that makes it all okay. But let me tell you what they've done. If you get Hitman 3, and you boot it up and you've got a save for Hitman 2, maybe you've played it before, you've got some profile XP, you've got some, unlocks you want to carry across, like a fancy version of an exploding rubber duck, and you want to have that in Hitman 3, you need to go to an external website, make an IO account, and then tell IO's account thing to transfer across all your data, and then just sit and wait there until it happens. The problem is that because they made it a worldwide release date with a specific time, it didn't come out until 1 o'clock in the afternoon yesterday for us, the whole world descended on that website and crashed it. And we're almost on 24 hours since, and you still can't get on to transfer your save data across. And even worse, at some point I will stop talking, and even worse is that if you try to play Hitman 3, you can go as far as you want in that game, make a fresh save, keep enjoying it, but if you transfer your data across afterwards, maybe you don't want to, maybe you do, you don't mind waiting until the servers are online again, it'll just wipe everything that you've done. It literally says that. It's like, you can keep playing if you want, but when you do bring your data across, it'll wipe everything that you've done. And alongside that is the fact that everything is server synced. So even in the story and in between the missions and everything, it can just die. Everything is server synced, so it can just die.
Scott Tilford, my dude. Look, like you said at the beginning, I love Hitman. I love IO Interactive. I love what they've done with this franchise, and I love that they've gone independent, and I wish them success. But why does it always come back to the fact that buying a game at launch as soon as you can, you're always getting swindled somehow, my friend? Like, something always goes wrong. Well, not swindled is harsh, but you're always getting
something is always wrong. Yeah,
something's always wrong. You're always getting an inferior version of the product, because there's always mistakes like this that happen at launch, especially with games that require this kind of transfer. But this seems specifically kind of convoluted and weird, and I don't know why they've done this, especially because, like you said, they delayed the release of it. Like, you couldn't play this game at midnight in the UK because they were waiting to have this simultaneous worldwide release. But that just meant, like you said, everyone's been piling on, everyone's been trying to do this process, and it's crashed everything. And the fact that it's a one-time gimmick, and if you do, decide, okay, I'll do it later, I'll play some Hitman, like, that save is going to be overwritten by everything you're importing. It's a weird way to do it, Scott, and it's kind of like, it's not kind of out of touch with the rest of the series, because the original Hitman, the rebooted Hitman, had issues with DRM. I know that was like a huge controversy at the time, the fact that it was this initially always online experience and you would lose progress if you were playing offline and stuff like that. So I always feel when it comes to the online component of this new rebooted series, it's always been the weirdest and weakest part, and there's always been these kind of like weird issues with it that kind of pull the experience down, because Hitman, by all other accounts, is like this great game, you know what I mean? And it just sucks that we have this issue at launch. If you're buying it a week after launch, hopefully you won't have this problem. But for right now, for everyone trying to get in, I think it's worth pointing out that, this process is happening, and this is what you're going to have to deal with.
The thing is, it reminds me a lot of two other times that I feel like this has happened. Maybe there's more, but one was when Bethesda re-released the Doom series. They part of the original Doom games, but you had to make a Bethesda account to make a pop-up go away. And they eventually took that out. They eventually patched it out after a couple of weeks, because everybody was just going, "What do you do?" It started with Uplay, and then it's like every individual publisher is like, "We should get individual stats on all of our people. They should all make accounts." Why? Like, I don't know why. I don't know what you get from that. At least in Uplay, you get like a specific hat at some point when you're playing Immortals, but most stuff doesn't give you anything. But still, that reminds me of when Bethesda did that in Doom, and it reminds me of when Konami did it with Metal Gear Solid 4, where if you want to play that game online, you had to go across and make a Konami account on an external website. You could do like a pop-up thing inside the PS3 on the browser, and then go back into the game and sync that to get online. What weird middle management, let's boost our numbers BS is this? And and plus, if you apply it to Hitman, like you've mentioned there, the games are like supremely recommendable. Literally, the new Hitman games might be the best games, some of the best games ever made. Like just genuinely impressive, ridiculously complex. I love them so much, which is why I'm so rambly and annoyed, because I just wanted to play Hitman 3. I just wanted to kill some dudes in fancy ways, and I couldn't do it. And I'm still sat here, having owned it for almost 24 hours. I haven't touched it. Well, I've touched it, but I've got to the main menu, and that was it.
I like these videos, Scott, because it's mostly stems out of your days off being ruined. Like I was following your updates from yesterday. There was the thing where you couldn't play it at 12 o'clock, then you had to wait until it was halfway through your day off, and then you were waiting for Hitman 3, then you couldn't play it properly. And I feel bad for you, man. I feel bad. I like being here as sort of moral support, because I haven't got Hitman yet. This hasn't hit me. Very funny. But I feel your pain, man. I feel your pain.
I'm literally that cat, that sort of like that ginger cat that's just sort of like slumped, just like trying to get life done. I feel exactly like that. But as a wider thing, it's kind of one of those, because the thing is, the reason I opened this video saying I don't want to get too annoyed with them, and I'm not, like I can see the problem. Everybody always talks about server load and it's hard to manage, and there's all that kind of thing. IO themselves did put a press release out saying that they were going to have this website available before launch, or they said, we're going to have this website available where you're going to be able to log on, make your account, and prep the idea of carrying your XP, your save stuff across. And we'll let you know when that's available before launch. Obviously, it didn't happen, and I know that they're a smaller team, and obviously, like I said, they've gone independent, they left Square Enix. But the reality of it is, as a consumer with a product, you log onto this thing or you open the game up and you're faced with this bizarre reality of kind of not being able to access the new thing you've bought if you want to continue where you left off, because it is a trilogy. They're now very much advertising it as the World of Assassination trilogy. You want to carry on where you left off and you can't. Your progress is kind of just held hostage by the fact that either you can play it fresh or you can carry on where you were before. And if you want to do that, you need to wait for a certain server to be online. I guess what's your general thoughts on the idea that stuff should just be ready at launch? So why do we even have launch dates at this point?
Well, that's the sort of the bigger issue here, you know what I mean? I was only joking earlier on when I was talking about swindling and, going in on IO, because I think ultimately they've made, a really good game. And in this particular issue, it is an issue, but I would argue it's not necessarily the end of the world. But at the same time, it is part of a larger whole. And that whole is the fact that you just can't pop in games anymore and play them as you used to be able to. And the idea of having this launch date, never mind issues like this, you've got day one patches that can be huge, you've got installs, you've got a bunch of admin essentially that you have to go through, and so often that admin just totally fails and it's not properly implemented. Like the fact that you couldn't import your saves like this before launch properly, is weird. The fact that you have a worldwide release, everyone's trying to jump on, is strange, and it's kind of it's just frustrating as a fan and as a player that the years of just being able to get a new game, pop it in, and have it ready to go, that's just gone. And that was such a defining part of the console experience. And I might sound like a complete old man Seymour Skinner type at the moment, but I just do miss it, because that was such a huge appeal of gaming. And you've got all of these publishers, you've got all of these console makers implementing features to make getting into the game as fast as possible. You've got suspend play, you've got the ability now to essentially just bypass all of those intro loading screens and jump in exactly where you left off. But it's a shame that care and attention isn't put into the first time you actually play a game, you know what I mean? That just seems to be getting longer, and the process seems to be getting more convoluted and more broken across the board, not just in Hitman 3, just in any game launch ever. I can't remember the last time a game launch went properly smoothly, man. I cannot.
No. The bigger the project, the more possible variants, the more elements there are, the more variables there are, that things can go wrong. In Hitman's case, the whole World of Assassination thing is brilliant when it works. You can see what they're going for. The idea of this constantly synced universe between all these different players, everyone's recommending contracts to each other, different ones rise up to the top, and this NPC is fun to try and take out because they're on this specific AI path and everything else. All that stuff's brilliant. But why even, it's just, for me, it's the base brass tacks of just, this is the launch day, this is the launch time, you've paid your money, right, let's go guys, and then you can't. I think for me, I'm never going to get past that, because you've told me when it's okay. I've made the time, I'm on a day off, I'm sitting here, I'm on the couch with my little, I'm the ginger cat man, and I just want to play some Hitman, and it can't be done. So I think for me, it's worth calling out, but it's also the fact that I think the thing that's worth mentioning is this idea of publishers and sort of various companies forcing this idea of company-based membership to get into their games for whatever reason, marketing data, whatever it is, from Ubisoft to EA to Bethesda, whatever. And I think that stuff is, I don't know if that's going to become a bigger problem, but in Bethesda's case, it blew up right in their face. And I don't see any benefit to doing this other than occasional skins on the Ubisoft side. So yeah, let us know what you think down in the comments below. Have you managed to get into Hitman 3? What's your thoughts on the idea of publisher-specific accounts going forward? And what's your general thoughts on the idea of launch dates of games? For now, I've been Scott from WhatCulture.com.
Josh from WhatCulture.com.
And we'll catch you next time.
Bye.